right, to the BDGE Dynasty Fantasy Football channel. Today we are reaching in to our bags, deep into our bags like fucking Santa Claus. Not to get confused with the bearded man over here. We've gotten a few comments asking us to talk about deep sleepers. All right, y'all are getting into your startup drafts. Them things are fucking 28, 30, 32 rounds. So we are going to give some of our favorite picks in rounds 18 or later in your startup drafts, all right? And we are pulling data from the South Harmon website, southharmonff.com. You can find the ADP there. That website pulls from Sleeper, okay? So we're pulling it from Sleeper. We've tried to cross-reference from Keep Trade Cut and these other websites just to make sure that the players we're pulling, it's not like outrageous. This is all real data from real actual startup drafts being done right now, okay? So we're about to get deep. We're about to get hard. We're about to get turnt.
Blue chewing it up, man.
Yes, sir. Took mine. About 10 minutes. Fucking tuck me in. Fucking suck them down, tuck them in.
Should have came pre-tuck. We should have been ready with these deep sleepers.
It's actually disgusting. Why don't you start us off?
All right.
Why don't you start off with whatever bullshit you got to pull up?
Surprised you had me started off because I don't even feel like I need to convince you anymore. I just watched one of your videos. Can't believe the guy's still in the 18th round. Now, obviously, I'm not going to act like there's not a reason for it. We have not seen the production from him since, like, the OG days in Denver, and even that production was a little bit shaky. Noah Fant, though, is the guy for me. I would say this: if you faded tight end, like I wouldn't love having Noah Fant as my tight end one, obviously.
Where's Fant going right now?
1808, tight end 27.
Okay.
I just look around at this position in particular. Everybody on the board that you can see here, for those that you can't see it, it's up to the 14th round. So like Isaiah Likely, I do like the talent that he is, but still Mark Andrews' presence there. Sanders. Nothing is really certain from any of the tight ends, really 14 down. Noah Fant's situation, the only thing that's certain to me is that if he doesn't do it this year, now we can really write him off. Like all the Colby Parkinson left, all the situation problems that he had with Pete Carroll, this like carousel of tight ends with there's 3 tight ends there, it's clear for him to take off. If he doesn't at least return value from tight end 27, you can safely put him to bed, put him to rest. But this is now the time.
I am now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more because I've been starting to dive into a lot more redraft content. We're about to start ripping off redraft content. So if you guys are not subscribed to that channel, go do so. It'll link down below. I'm looking through Seattle's offense, and I guess the one thing that does worry me a little bit about Fant is we have Ryan Grubb coming from Washington, right? And obviously they notoriously ran like their 3 wide receiver sets with Roman McMillan, Jalen Polk, really high rate last year, like 75, 77%, which is a massive inflation from where Seattle was last year. So my only concern is like
totally different.
If like DK, Lockett, and JSN are on the field all the time, I'd imagine between the 3 of them, they'll probably combine for like 70 to 75% of those teams' targets. You know, I don't know how much available space there really is for another playmaker there.
You got him as 4th on that pecking order.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think there's a couple things to think about there.
I can't even really name the other wide receivers on that team. Jake Bobo?
Yeah, you don't need to. I mean, is he a wide receiver? I don't even know what Jake Bobo is.
Oh, he's just a tall big man.
Yeah, he's kind of like a hybrid, I feel like.
He's BM1, big man 1. Yeah.
But I actually feel like if this offense is opened up with Grubb, I kind of like that, to be honest with you. Now, the reason I say that is I feel like Noah Fant's a guy that if you lose track of him, his athletic traits can give you some really nice long touchdowns. It's been a while since we've seen it. It was the OG Denver days, but if you can't focus on Noah Fant, he's actually participating and running routes the majority of the time. He's one of these tight ends that I think, obviously, for that whole position, you're not expecting a lot of them to be like weekly consistent booms, but I think he could give you like 4 or 5 pop weeks where he has 30, 40-yard runs to the house where
that's super fair.
There's really no one else in this range, I think. A guy like Chig, very athletic guy, but there's not a whole lot of guys where you just tell me if they were to get a catch in space, can really house one that's down this range.
Yeah, and with those weapons, like, it ain't going to be hard for him to find spacing. No one's fucking looking at Noah Fant when they're running routes out there.
Let 87 run by himself.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to another guy that I think can make big plays when given space, big plays on the boundary. That's the 1901. Jalin Hyatt is currently going off the board in the 19th round. Wide receiver 84. I wasn't in love with him coming out of school, but I kind of feel like he's just been completely written off based on an offense that didn't have their starting quarterback last year whatsoever, and like one of the most void passing games. He was a rookie, so they needed to like work him in. He was really highly touted as a prospect. A lot of people had, him going in the third round or the first round, end up going in the third round. I might be making this up, but I'm pretty sure I remember he was the odds-on favorite early in the draft process to be the first wide receiver off the board in that fucking class.
No, you're not wrong on that. I actually, interestingly enough, I think if there wasn't an injury to Hooker, like I think he ends up securing what you're talking about here.
Yeah, and he was a Biletnikoff winner, 1,500 yards.
He had a great season.
Receiving, like fast as fuck, boy, you know? And like the thing that excites me about the future of the Giants offense is that they just have so much opportunity available. They don't have anyone behind Malik Neighbors that's a real playmaker. And this could be, you know, Darren Waller just retired. So this could be an offense where over the next year, we start to see it's like a Green Bay Packers trio kind of forms where it's like maybe it's Malik as the real number one, Jalin Hyatt as a downfield threat, Wan'Dale Robinson running in the slot. I just feel like it's so devoid of targets. We don't really know what Jalin Hyatt is as a talent, even though a lot of people loved him last year, and he didn't get a fair chance to prove himself this year.
For sure. What I was going to say about it is, let me ask you this. How do you view Daniel Jones realistically for this offense? Like, do you think he's completely trash, or do you think there's kind of a middle ground from what the perception is currently?
Fantasy or like holding the offense up, like real football?
I guess a little both.
Fantasy, I'm not as sold as I was kind of in the beginning of the summer. I think the injury pessimism is starting to settle in. Like he's pretty fresh off the ACL, and the reason I was like excited to invest in him was like, okay, he has the rushing upside.
Yeah.
The 1 year, I went and looked back.
He had 700 rushing yards.
Yeah, 700 rushing yards. And in his tenure there, he's been there for 5 years since 2019. The single highest fantasy wide receiver ever was Darius Slayton at wide receiver 37. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't even his big fantasy year. Right. His big fantasy year, it was, I think, Shepard at wide receiver 49. So while it's like we have this idea of Daniel Jones as like a serviceable QB, good fantasy quarterback, it's not something where he like improves his teammates, at least fantasy relevancy. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
That scares me a little bit. He hasn't had more than, I think, like 17 passing touchdowns since his rookie year, never thrown for more than 3,400 passing yards. So it's like Malik is an elevator of quarterbacks, I'm sure, but that scares me a little bit. But I just think if Jalin Hyatt's like just a good wide receiver, by the time they get their next quarterback, he could be a real playmaker.
Yeah, I think the main thing is going to be that does Jalin Hyatt show enough this year? I think the reason he's in this range is because he's going to need to show something this year with Daniel Jones, at least enough life to keep
he could be buried
value
really quick, yeah.
But if he does do that, I think this is a guy that also, I guess his style of play, his track speed. Like if we have the remembering or the reminiscing of Jalin Hyatt, you know, winning a game or something like that, or putting them in a position to win a game with a huge long catch. I mean, wide receiver 84, it's not going to also be hard for you to return value there too. So I like the talent of him. I think the situation we kind of I'm basically not sure if Daniel Jones, as far as like a deep ball thrower, is the best fit for him. Is kind of why.
Yeah, it feels like something's going to have to change, obviously. But I don't see why. Like Darius Slayton hasn't been bad. He's like a yearly 800-yard receiver, 750-yard receiver, 6-touchdown guy. I don't see why Jalin Hyatt can't be that. But with a good quarterback, can be a little bit more than that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, a plus version of that for sure.
I just feel like we don't know what his talent really is, and for someone who is like highly regarded, has traits that you're like, okay, he's fast as fuck. Like we know he was good in college. We're not projecting that. Like literally won the award for the best wide receiver. So I don't feel like we're projecting much.
No, I'm with you.
If he has a steady situation, you know, if he's in Green Bay last year, does he perform really well? Like maybe, you know what I mean?
And if he just shows signs of life this year, I think you'll end up being happy with that pick in the 19th round.
Yeah.
I'll actually go ahead and stay on theme here because it's interesting you went to Jalin Hyatt. The guy that I have on my list here, I'm going to go a little deeper here. 21st round, currently at the 2111 in startup ADP, Daniel Bellinger. So
you ain't think I had his ass down here? You ain't think I had him buried? You didn't think I had belly buried? Belly buried?
It's so
Bill Burr belly buried? Sorry, go ahead.
No, please continue.
There's nothing left for me to do there.
If you had something. I actually wanted you to keep going.
Yeah, I was just digging in the hole.
So Daniel Bellinger, at least for me, starting to make, you know, I started really making a lot of content in like 21, 22. So when you do that, I guess I remember how cool Daniel Bellinger felt.
You start to have an affinity for those dudes. I feel
and I remember the community after he had 2 weeks inside the top 12 in his rookie season.
That's all it takes for tight ends.
Like, Daniel Bellinger was to the moon stock. And I remember kind of at that point, like, I didn't want to be that guy, but I'm like, I feel like this is ridiculous, people. Like, calm down. But now it's like, how does nobody remember that? Where is that crowd gone? Darren Waller's gone. Daniel Bellinger is going to be the starting tight end. I mean, I know they brought in Theo Johnson. I'm not acting like he's not a freak athlete, but typically tight ends don't give you that much early on in their career. I feel like at this value, almost tight end 40. Like Daniel Bellinger with a healthy Daniel Jones absolutely could be returning value. Another tight end, I know I talked about Noah Fant, but these were the two tight ends when I look at the board that I'm like, not saying that there aren't other ones that make sense that I think should be pushed up higher, but I'm like, these just are way too low for me.
I agree. I am one of them that finally remembers Danny B and the hype around him for like a little while.
Yeah.
And I think he actually would have had like a really good year that year. He got hurt. That eye, like his
got
fucking
gouged,
eye
man.
popped out or some bullshit.
Spider monkeys popping people's eyes out.
Facts, dude. So I remember that too, and I was like, man, I wish we could have seen the journey of Daniel Bellinger play out. And then they signed Waller, so it was like he's cooked.
Man, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Bellinger, I think the reason he falls down here is you look at Bellinger, he's just like some random white dude that's not like, you don't see him like pop on film or anything like that. He's a possession receiver, so a lot of people feel like he probably doesn't have a ton of upside. But to be honest with you, in that short time frame, it feels like he produced more than most dudes who are more athletic than him get chances and just like fall flat all the time. So Bellinger has the opportunity. Young has shown in at least like glimpses that he can get it done. So I'm on board with the Danny B pick.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of crazy too when you think about tight end 38. Like this is a guy that is, you can say the offense is as gross as you want. You don't. This is a guy that's a starting tight end on his team. I mean, you can't say that for almost all these guys around this range too. That's the other thing about it that's kind of insane to me.
No, and he wasn't on my list, but I'll go like two spots after that. I don't hate Jonnu Smith in Miami. He's not too old. I like the fit. I think he could probably bring something back. He's coming off a pretty good year in Atlanta. I just think you throw him on in a way that, like, even Atlanta used him in a pretty creative way last year where they were putting him in motion. They were getting him involved in the red zone, letting him run the ball, letting him catch it on, fly routes, whatever. I feel like Miami can get really creative with him as a third weapon there.
Does it not just fit the whole Dolphins offense? Like, let me get another fast guy in here. Yeah. Another guy that can break along.
Like, he's probably going to get, like, sweeps. Like, they're probably going to have him in motion and fucking, like, toss him the ball.
You know what's really kind of frustrating? I remember Jonnu Smith. It was I was really excited about what he was going to do after Tennessee. And then it goes to New England, and then immediately they bring in Hunter Henry. And you're like, what are we doing?
They signed them both together, I remember.
Yeah, I'm like, it was literally, they brought in Jonnu Smith. I'm like, all right, this is pretty exciting. And then they brought in Hunter Henry like the next day or whatever. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. But all that time has now been removed where last year he was like the annoying one because we wanted to see Kyle Pitts do well. So I feel like that's part of the
I got to the fucking end of the year and I was
Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, I got to the end of the year and I liked, as a Falcons fan, I like Johnny more than I like Pitts. I was like, he's our best fucking tight end on our team right now.
I think he's going to be probably inconsistent because of the But I mean, he's also one of the guys that if you're just kind of punting the position, you just keep throwing him in. He's probably going to give you plenty of weeks that are actually pretty relevant.
Yeah, I just saw the name, got excited. I actually thinking about it, don't know if I really ever want to draft him in Dynasty.
But perfect. I'll tell you that in best ball is a perfect tight end for me. Best ball, like I don't have to worry about starting him. Let me get Jonnu on a few of those weeks where he gets that end around to the crib.
Danny B and Jonnu Smith. Fucking best ball tandem.
What a pairing. All right, who you got next, man? Or is Jonnu Smith actually your guy there?
He wasn't my guy.
All right. I'm just yapping.
I was just yapping. I'll throw someone else out there that I'm kind of against this guy, but down in the 18th round, Sam Darnold reminds me a little bit of maybe a little Baker Mayfield situation. Obviously, Baker didn't come into Tampa Bay competing with a top 10, whatever, first round pick quarterback. Right. I think there's a really good chance that Darnold wins a starting quarterback job.
Yeah.
And if he could play well, I think there's a real chance that he gets an actual starting job opportunity next year. I hate the whole sentiment of like everyone like thinks Sam Darnold's so good. They're like, oh, why is he a backup right now? Get him onto the field everywhere else that he went. It's like because he played really poorly for like the first 6 years of his career. But I do think we get this idea Darnold is like, oh, he's just been around forever. He just turned 27. So he has 5 more years and still probably find like a starting job somewhere or some shit like that. So I think somewhere down here, what you're looking for out of your quarterback is a chance to string together 1 or 2 starting years left in your career, which you are like not going to get from any of these guys outside of injuries. Like Darnold, I think, can earn that. I don't know if JJ gets on the field this year. If Sam Darnold can somehow hold him off for 17 games, that means he played well enough to probably earn a contract elsewhere.
It's a big dub for him.
If he could play well statistically and then maybe like gets hurt, he probably gets like a 2-year deal elsewhere for $20 million where he gets to compete for a starting job again and goes down like the Gardner Minshew path. and he could earn a starting job elsewhere. Would you look at like Drew Lock, Jake Browning, those guys? They're never going to be starters outside of the starter getting hurt and them just like kind of being shoved into the spot.
Yeah, that's fair. The other thing with Sam Darnold is if he is the starting quarterback out of the gates and he plays well and actually like is able to hold off JJ for a fair amount of time, you look at his situations he's been in, and I'm not trying to make a bunch of excuses for him, but he hasn't really been the starting quarterback for a team that's like got talent all around it.
For sure.
And if you saw that for the first time with the weapons he has in Minnesota, now you could have a different conversation about maybe what his future trajectory is. I think the other thing to remember, like GMs do this. It's kind of almost like in Dynasty. We don't want to give up on names that we didn't get to draft or guy that, you know, the name was like Jalen Hyatt's a perfect example of this. Not saying that he's going to be terrible, but I didn't get to draft him. Now he's cheap enough. I remember the name. GMs do this. They're like, Sam Darnold was a highly touted guy. He's going to keep getting chances if he shows some life this year for sure.
Yeah, and the thing with Darnold, like he came out early. I remember he was like people thought he should have stayed in school for another year despite being picked really early. They saw the traits. And sometimes it takes the new situation and also you developing as a player. Like he just might not have been NFL ready at that point, and maybe he's just become a better quarterback over the years and having the experience in these different spots. So like now you put him in a good situation where he's not running for his life all the time, where he has, you know, weapons that he can trust, and maybe we could see something out of him. So obviously 18th round, like you're not expecting to see anything big from him, but on the off chance that he plays really well, like he could get, you know, a starter contract somewhere. It's not a great starter contract, but like any starter contract in a super flex league is super fucking valuable.
No, that's fair. And honestly, I think from a strategy standpoint too, if you either drafted 2 quarterbacks very early and then you haven't gotten a quarterback 3, or your quarterback 2 is a little bit sketchy, a guy that you could draft this far down the board that gives you some opportunity to be your quarterback 3 for a while, that kind of patchworking the quarterback 3 together, if you haven't done that, is a really nice option this far down the board.
100%. Like if he gives you 8 weeks, like that also gives you 8 weeks to figure out what your QB3 situation is going to be.
Yeah,
if you need to trade in that time frame.
Exactly. And kind of using it from that standpoint too, like, all right, I can kind of pencil him in for at least a short amount of time there. And you can also figure out what your team's doing. And now maybe you're actually willing to use your first to go get that quarterback that you need, and you feel comfortable doing so.
Yep.
So I think that is a really good patchwork situation. I hadn't thought about him. I like that pool. Damn. Nice pool.
What you got for me? Impress me.
I'm going to give you this one because basically the way I like this team build, and if you watch the video I did on startups, I basically don't want to be drafting a lot of the receivers down here. I want to already have my receiver position built out. However, if I didn't do enough of that, or I just went against the grain because of the way it fell, I think one of the receivers actually that's in this range, he barely fits the criteria. He's 1801, but in keep trade cut, he's well further past that. Brandin Cooks. The life expectancy on Brandin Cooks is we're dwindling here. But Dallas' situation last year, the second half of the season, I mean, this team just chucked the fucking football. And Brandin Cooks actually was pretty damn decent there. Wide receiver 83, like if you told me that your wide receiver room wasn't that deep or that strong, like Brandin Cooks is somebody that I could flex, I feel pretty confidently, for a while. Here's the thing about the receivers for the most part in this range. Like I probably need to see something take place for me to be like, yeah, I'm going to start this guy. Brandin Cooks, I think, is the one receiver this far down that you really could say right now, week 1, like I'm going to just throw him in my lineup.
I like that. I'm kind of on Brandin Cooks for redraft this year for that same reason.
That's exactly, I think, the sentiment is like, because he's so old, this is why he's pushed down so far. So he kind of just, like, to me, sticks out like a sore thumb, other than if you still believe in Adam Thielen in this range.
Yeah, Cooks I like. It's a good call out because Dallas is just going to be so fucking pass heavy with the way they were second half of last year, with the way that their team is built right now, which is Zeke and fucking Rico Dowdle back there.
Yep.
And they didn't add any pass catching competition.
That's
there.
the thing. Like
they got rid of Michael Gallup.
We're talking about Tolbert. I mean, like, can Brandin Cooks get a little bit of love? Damn.
Yeah, I like that call out. Big touchdown guy last year. I think he scored like 8 tugs.
Yeah, he's still, like, for as old as he is, hasn't really lost a step. Still surprisingly little quick guy.
Yeah. I like Cooks there. I will say I kind of just parlay it. I don't hate Jalen Tolbert either, only because it's a little bit biased. I was a fan of him coming out of school, and I think
so was I.
Yeah, he came out of some small fucking school. I remember.
Was it Southern Methodist?
Yeah, I was gonna say like SM. It's not SMU.
SMU.
Is it SMU?
I got to look it up now. It's South Alabama, isn't it?
Yes, South Alabama.
I was going to have to look it up, and I'm like, no, I know this. It's USA, South Alabama.
Yeah, South Alabama. And I remember thinking, like, I like this dude's film, good production.
The Jaguars.
Yeah, but when you come out of a school like that, sometimes it could take some time to adjust to the NFL, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's just getting a lot of hype this offseason. I know like every player gets a lot of hype every fucking offseason. I started to pay attention when you start to hear it from all these different sources, when you start to hear it from the QB, from the coaches, from the players, and from the beat reporters. That's like the trifecta for me. Coaching, players, beat reporters.
Yeah.
There's something usually there. And I'm hearing it from Dak. I'm hearing it from Brandin Cooks. I'm hearing it from the coach and the beat reporters that, like, they think he's going to be really involved this year. I don't see a reason why he wouldn't at least be the wide receiver 3 behind Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. So down here, a guy who's young, a guy who's going to be in a passing offense that's going to throw the ball 600-plus times.
Yep.
I think we could build a little bit of value here from Tolbert.
Honestly, like, I wasn't even using him to throw shade his way. He just hasn't given us anything.
Sure.
Now, I actually think to the point here, they're going to probably be running a lot of these 3 wide receiver sets, and the way they're throwing the football, like at 2107, like let's say he completely flames out. Like, who are you drafting?
Brother,
there?
like Greg Dortch.
That's what I'm saying. Who are you drafting here that you're like, oh, this is a much better bet for a sure thing? Like, you're not drafting sure things down here. That's kind of the point I'm making for Tolbert.
No, outside of Bellinger at 21-11,
yep.
I don't think there's a single person in that round that I would waste a roster spot on. Like, I would rather have none of them than either of those two.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, too, is like Daniel Bellinger, you can for sure predict to be like a starting tight end, a workload of some sort. Like, you can't really tell me any of these players in this range are guaranteed any type of snap share or production at all.
No.
I'm pretty much on board with you on Jalen Tolbert. I didn't have him on my list, but I don't hate that pick. If you're in that 21st round and you want to shoot your shot on Tolbert, I got no problem.
He's one of the very few that I like there. And then right next to Brandin Cooks, also a fan of Jaleel McLaughlin. I don't like a lot of the running backs in this 18th round and further down just because their lifespan is so short that, like, they ain't going to do it now. They're not going to do it. But
yeah,
I thought he was really exciting as a player last year. It felt like Sean Payton, like, he became one of Sean Payton's experiments, and we know how that shit ends up working out. Like, he falls in love with a player, and then it's just like it's game over. There's no rhyme, reason, or logic behind when a player is playing.
Yep.
I thought he was a great change of pace, and they're in an offense that badly needs playmakers right now. So
definitely,
the talk around that camp is like they got no fucking idea what's going on in that running back situation. Javonte's getting cut, and like Audric Esme. So like,
yeah.
If I had to put all of my money on something, Javonte leads that backfield in touches. I'm not even really going to entertain that, but I think Jaleel McLaughlin has a real role as like the speedster, breakaway, change of pace back.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? The deepest of my sleepers, and basically in the 24th round, was going to be Blake Watson. And it's honestly like the exact same sentiment you have for Jaleel McLaughlin is what I'm saying with Blake Watson.
Fair.
It's like
I don't know much about him. I have heard like a little bit of hype coming out of camp about him though.
You just talked about with Jalen Tolbert. The amount of buzz on Blake Watson's not been to that same level. But like I just saw a blurb and what Sean Payton kind of said was if you went and looked at it and you just read the opening line, he actually says, I'm not going to make the comparison talking about Alvin Kamara. But I feel like that is what drew the hype to stupid levels. But his point was that in Alvin Kamara's rookie year, they kind of viewed him as a pass-catching weapon. But then he took a 52-yard run to the crib, and they're like, oh, we can hand the ball to him too.
Yeah.
It was like that was like the moment where they knew they got something different in him. Supposedly, he said that what he's seen out of him in the passing game from Blake Watson was like an added plus that he didn't realize. And the fact that he's even going to that length to talk about Blake Watson in the 24th round, like I'm definitely everything we said in the 21st round. There's nobody in the 24th round that I feel good. Kadarius Toney's there, man. I know I don't want to draft him anymore.
Hell no.
So like to me, Blake Watson is the exact same sentiment for Jaleel McLaughlin because I saw it last year. He surprised me with when he got the opportunity. He actually was like very shifty and had a couple like very decent long runs. I basically drafting Blake Watson with the same idea where, to your point, Sean Payton, you don't have to have a rhyme or reason. It may not even be right,
Blake
but
Watson
he's the one.
What's his build like? Do you know?
He's 189 pounds, like 5'8".
Okay. So he's like undersized relatively.
They actually use the term joker for him.
I feel like they used that for Jaleel McLaughlin last year too.
But that's the funny part is like McLaughlin and Watson to me, they're like the same thing. The only difference is that McLaughlin I saw last year actually produce, so he deservedly should be going ahead.
Okay, that makes sense there. I'm really interested to see how this backfield plays out from a roster perspective because you have
those are 4 names right there.
Jaleel, Blake, you have Javonte, you have Audric Esme, but you also have Samaje Perine, who they gave a contract to last year. So I think realistically 2 of these guys are going to get cut.
I do too.
I kind of think it's probably going to be.
I hope one of them is Perine.
I think Samaje is probably going to get cut. I'd imagine it's going to be between one of the smaller backs.
It's funny because I actually feel like one of these two guys will end up not making it if they cut down that far, for sure. Because they're kind of the same idea.
Yeah, they are. They're the same idea coming to fruition. Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty funny.
I guess there's just, to me, I'm looking at two shots at the same thing then. All right.
So I see a couple of Cleveland wide receivers down here.
Oh, no.
As a Cleveland fan that's just had so much happiness as a Cleveland fan, and everything good just happens to you guys. Quarterback situations are always flawless.
The luckiest team you've ever seen.
Yeah, like just making so many good decisions day in, day out, draft in, draft out. We have Elijah Moore, 1908, and then Cedric Tillman at 2405. Do either of those guys speak to you? Are either of those guys you think worth the draft capital here? Both of those guys, like Elijah Moore, obviously way more so, produced at the NFL level, high round prospect. Tillman got good draft capital as well. Like anything in those guys?
There's like that run. That's what speaks to me. Like, nah, get out of here.
Okay,
run.
Nothing with Moore.
Listen, I
hated watching him last year.
I loved Elijah Moore, the player coming out. I was super excited when we got him last year. The way that they're using, I don't know if he actually does not feel, if he's not the talent that he used to be, the way they used him last year was insane.
Horrific.
Absolutely. Like
his ADOT, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. It must be 1.2 yards.
You want to talk, I mean, the misery that we're going to have to go through by just talking about this. I don't understand why Stefanski felt like this guy was only a gadget at the line of scrimmage weapon like Rondell Moore. I feel like they didn't actually explore using him downfield. The amount of targets he got last year actually is surprisingly high.
Dude, because I drafted him in a lot of redraft leagues last year, and I started him for the first bunch of weeks because I'd be like, look at his stat line and say, 8 targets, fucking 40 yards. I'm like, yo, he can't give me more than 6 fucking points. So he's a target guy. I guess my concern now is the way that you're saying is like they don't trust him. They use him on the line of scrimmage. They don't trust him to like make plays downfield, and that's probably the reason why they went out and signed Judy.
That's the other thing is like, okay,
they're going to use Judy how they should use Moore.
Cleveland is one of the highest analytics as far as the way that they team build, call plays, everything. They keep trying to patchwork another weapon for Watson because they invested so heavily. Everything they're saying is like, but that didn't work. We need to bring in Judy this year. They keep trying to find a solution, and it just feels like they're chasing their tail. But I don't. The fact that they did bring in Judy, to me, is just like they just don't feel very good about these two players. And I just don't think highly enough, or I don't feel certain enough about this offensive situation and how Watson is to start saying that he can support a third receiver or a fourth receiver in this offense.
Yeah.
Because I struggle to see if he can even support anyone that's not Amari Cooper or Joku.
No, that's fair.
I'm jaded. Call me jaded, but it's where I'm at.
I mean, like, I think that's the only opinion really to have from a Cleveland fan or not.
Yeah. I was really excited about Elijah Moore until I started watching week in and week out. They threw him the ball like almost behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, like
and expected him to go make like a 20-yard play.
Every play, it was brutal. I got one more guy.
Okay.
That's a rookie. I tried to keep rookies pretty much to a minimum because we've done so much rookie talk throughout the offseason. You guys probably know which guys we like. But Isaac Geurendo, down at the 1806, San Francisco running back. I just can't imagine that someone doesn't emerge as a high-value handcuff to Christian McCaffrey. You know, they did re-sign him, extend him. So, like, C-Mac is a part of their plans for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So remains to be seen if anyone's
Rightfully
actually, for sure. If anyone's actually going to make like a difference in that backfield. You know, I've said it before. I like Geurendo a lot more than I thought I would. Athletic, absolute freak. He's got the size to be a 3-down back. I thought on film he was a much better running back than probably given credit for, just in terms of reading the line and like vision and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a place for him in this backfield. I think we saw last year Elijah Mitchell's just dust. There's nothing really left with him. Yep. They don't got anybody else in the backfield. So at worst, like I would rather have fucking a handcuff to C-Mac or an upside chance of a handcuff to C-Mac than any of the other fucking laundry down here.
I'm with you. Geurendo, to me, the home run ability, the upside he has as an athlete. The thing that in Frisco, I was combing over some of the numbers. Deebo Samuel, like as a part-time role, I wouldn't expect anything from Elijah Mitchell or Geurendo because they use Deebo Samuel enough in the running department. But to your point, he's a lottery ticket. It feels like people forget now that CMC has a long, list of injury history because he's been healthy more recently. But if something was to happen to him, Isaac Geurendo could end up being a league winner type.
Yeah.
I mean, in that offense, it could go stupid. So
that's what I mean.
In the 18th round, I'm definitely swinging for the fences in this round anyway.
He was a dude I was taking in like the 3rd round of rookie draft. So like down here in the 18th round of a startup, I'm fine investing that capital because you have like in rookie drafts, I was taking Isaac Geurendo above Kamani Vidal.
Yeah.
And Kamani's up there at the 1408. So you're talking about a 4-round difference now that we get to like the startup spot, like Javon Baker up at the 1411. It starts to get like crazy gaps relative to where we were looking at them just a month ago with
in the rookie draft
when we only had perspective of rookie drafts.
You know what's funny is like I think a lot of that too is workload projection. Like Isaac Geurendo is a fun theory for people, but in the 14th round, people are drafting Kamani Vidal as if he's not a theory and he's going to be someone that's a projected starter. It's kind of insane.
I can't wait till he gets cut. He's going to get cut in August.
He's
not. I wouldn't put money on it,
but the reason I hate that is because like I have enough shares that I want him to do well, but I'm also like people that are drafting him as their running back 2 here. I'm like, stop it.
There's part of me like I have enough shares of him where I'm like, this is actually a win-win for me.
Right.
If he does well, cool. I have shares. If he gets cut, I'm like, you deserve this.
I told you
guys
so.
did this.
I told you so. Yeah. That's actually that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Now, but he's definitely one that I had on the list. There's 2 others I have here. I didn't want to talk about too many rookies, but Rasheen Ali. I mean, listen, this should be the Lamar and Derrick Henry show this year.
Mm-hmm.
But if something happens to Derrick Henry, who's 30 now, and a lot of miles, the Baltimore backfield has given us very usable weeks from the running back position across guys like Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell. I actually think Rasheen Ali is a much better running back than people probably realize. Played at Marshall, small school, and then had a lot of injury history. He dealt with a lot of injuries the last year or plus of his career. So he's kind of like a cheaper version of Geurendo to me. And then the last person I had on the list is Jelani Woods. And Jelani Woods missed all of last year with hamstring issues, which is kind of an interesting one. And you don't like hearing that from a young guy. But in his rookie season, he popped off for like 3 top 5 finishes.
Really?
Super athletic, super athletic guy. It was his rookie season, and they think very highly of him. He's I put a lot of stock into the RAS score. He's extremely high on the RAS.
Missed all
like
of last year, right?
Yeah. He didn't play the whole year because of hamstring issues. But the one thing that's weird, like this Indianapolis tight end room's kind of been like this weird carousel where you don't know who the hell it's going to be, but sometimes, like even Will Mallory had some weeks last year.
Yeah, and what makes it even more confusing is like Jelani Woods is a really big dude, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Mo Alley Cox was in this 4
you
or
were
5 year
gonna go there.
window of like, let's just hype him every year, even though he's done nothing, and then it's like, okay, Jelani Woods is just the next Mo Alley Cox, and we're just doing it again.
Jelani Woods is like a bigger, more athletic. I don't know if I want to say bigger, but a more athletic version of Mo Alley Cox that could end up being that.
Yeah, bigger is crazy there.
Yeah.
Mo Alley Cox
VCU holding it down. If you know, you know.
I don't know.
Havoc. Oh, for real? He played college basketball at VCU with Shaka Smart. Yeah.
Oh, damn, I didn't know.
Yeah, Havoc. If you know, you know. That was the term back then.
Gotcha.
But yeah, basketball. A lot of converted big men, like 4s that turn into tight ends. It's basically what you do. But what I was going to say is that Jelani Woods, I think, not just that talent, but I think if A-Rich stays healthy, people don't really quite realize that this Colts offense in general could end up being a huge uptick for everybody. And if there is a tight end that emerges that's athletic attached to the A-Rich at tight end 32, I'm willing to shoot my shot.
I fuck with that. I want to really quickly go back to Rasheen Ali.
Okay.
Because one, Keaton Mitchell towards ACL super late.
Yep.
Wouldn't be surprised if he starts on the pup, if not missing half the fucking year.
Right.
2, as much as like we're like, oh, Baltimore, they produce these huge fantasy backs and they're always a great running offense. They very rarely, if ever, actually run it through one player. They have, and maybe that's a chicken or the egg thing where it's like, okay, when like Ray Rice was there all these years ago, it was all through Ray Rice. But like, maybe it's injuries, but they've pretty much always, or at least the last like half decade, ran it through multiple backs.
Remember
Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, like all these guys.
I was actually going to say, back when J.K. Dobbins was really cool and everybody was super in, he actually had some really great weeks, but it happened on the back of him having like a 50-yard touchdown. Everyone's like, why won't they give him more volume? And that to your point, if they are only going to give – there could be an opportunity where Rasheen Ali actually earns a decent snap share or a part-time role in this offense too from the beginning.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of opportunity there for whoever it is behind Henry, and I think you could probably project it to be Mr. Ali right now.
Ali.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for round 18 or later sleepers. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you let us know down below. Who are some dudes that you guys are looking at round 18, round 24, round 28, round 34? I don't give a fuck. Somebody down there deep.
We We named a lot of people
Your
off
bag.
it. Let us know in the comments who we missed. I'm sure we missed some people that they're, someone's going to yell at us for missing.
I feel like we
somebody.
did a pretty damn good job there.
I was going to say, we talked about 15 people, 12 people, whatever it was. So if we
Light
missed
work.
somebody, let us know.
Light work. Shout out player, comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco as well. Thank you guys for hanging out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you are new here, make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below and go subscribe to the redraft channel because we're about to be pushing out about 5 videos per week over there. We love you. Goodbye. Smoochies.
Hi.